Hello, my Maple Leaf fans. Welcome to the final Maple Leaf media game availability locker cleanup. They're going to kick a live press conference of Craig Berube talking about how the season turned out after the Game 7 loss against the Florida Panthers. So we're kicking live right now. Here I am, if you're wondering where I am. I'm sitting right here. Starting tomorrow night, by the way, I will have game one of the Western Conference Finals match between the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars. So stay tuned for that tomorrow night. All right, now I'll get you guys to the media day final.
When you travel well, your ticket can take you to more than just your destination. It can make you feel like a local. When you travel well.
Mint sweat more. Give back to your skin. Take your skin to its happy place with Dove Men's Micro Moisture technology that nourishes your skin. Dove Men hydrates skin with every shower.
You know, talk about our season. You know, I think our team made a lot of great strides this year, did a lot of things, accomplished a lot of things. I really enjoyed working with this group. I really like this team a lot. I like the people in the organization, the players. You know, just the buy-in from the players for me, coming in here new and fresh and changing the style, changing the focus of how we're going to play. And, you know, just the professionalism and the buy-in from the players was excellent. Right through the lineup. Work ethic and practice, work ethic in the gym, and then obviously onto the ice, the commitment they made this year. You know, we all look at Game 7 and nobody's happy, and that's understandable. But we did a lot of good things this year that I'm very proud of.
Thanks, Coach. We'll start here with Josh.
Greg, there's lots of talk about fan and media pressure in this market. There's pressure in lots of big markets and lots of teams are successful. Where do you land on that as an explanation for the team's shortcomings?
Like you just said it, and you know, there's pressure everywhere. I don't care where you're playing. If you're playing in that Game 7 and you're in Columbus, there's pressure to win. Okay, you know, the only pressure that we should feel is right inside the locker room from each other. That's honestly my opinion.
Kevin.
Craig, I wonder if you could tell us what some of the guys are playing through, notably Austin and Matt and I there in game at the end, but what were some of the injuries that you could tell us?
I'm not going to talk about injuries, you know, what was bothering them. Like, and I talked to you guys this, you know, about this earlier. You know, there's a lot of guys playing through a lot of things from that standpoint, and that's every team though, and not only ours. But you know, this time of year, there's a lot of players going through a lot, like ours. You know, and that's fine. That's normal. And you know, you gotta. They battle their way through it, and that's all you can do. So I'm not going to specifically get into the types of injuries that they had.
Luke?
Craig, you had mentioned after Game 5 and 7 that a lot of it was maybe between the ears mentally. Just wondering what sort of resources in terms of the mental side of the game the organization is providing for these guys, and how much you believe they can get over that mental hump.
Yeah, and when I talked about that and I thought about these games, last couple days, and there's a lot of things that go through your mind in these big games, from a mental standpoint. And, you may not have your A game in these games, but what you have to rely on is your structure. And when I look at these games and I look at the situations that arrived and, hurt us in these games, we lost our structure. And that's very important that we take this away and that we come back next year. Structure is very important. And if you don't lose your structure, you can get through these games without having your A game.
Chris.
We have, the organization has people that can work with players, that's all provided for them.
Chris.
Craig, on the question of pressure, one of the things the Panthers guys said is they felt they could leverage it against your players. Like, did you think that was a factor in this series at all?
No, I don't know how they can do that, but if, maybe they could call me up and tell me. I don't.
Mark.
Like I said, pressure is pressure. I understand it. I do. And it's a hard market. And it's a great market, though. And you got to look at it that way, in my opinion. But pressure comes from inside the locker room. That's it. That's, your teammates are the most important people. And that, to me, is the only pressure.
Mark.
Craig, what was it, just down here front?
Oh, sorry.
What was it like coaching Mitch this season? What did you learn about him?
Great. I love the guy and love coaching him, love his energy, personality. He's a hell of a player. He does a lot for this team, night in and night out, and in a lot of different areas of the game. So I got nothing but good things to say about him.
Rosie.
You mentioned it a couple of times now about pressure should be inside the dressing room, players to players. I know the dressing room isn't really the coach's domain, but did you see any of that or much of that? Were you?
No, like I said,
that?
I thought that we looked really good. Like, we were ready. We were ready. And, sometimes you think you're ready and you prepare to be ready and you go out and you just kind of don't have it. You're just not on your toes enough. And that's where I talk about structure again. And structure will take care of a lot of that. It's, you guys might not understand what I'm talking about, but just playing with your structure and staying with it. And I thought in Game 7 we lost our structure in the second period for a bit, and they capitalized on a couple goals, and that's the difference in the game.
We're going to go with Sean.
Coach, up here. To touch on the comments that the Florida Panthers made again, what do you make of Coach Paul Maurice talking about how the games were tighter than maybe the scoreboard showed, and even Matthew Tkachuk saying that if this team was in a different city, they'd be unreal?
It's a lot of times in these games, if you look at we have 2 breakaways in the first period, and if we score in one of them, is it a different game? And that's what he's talking about. There's situational things that come up in the game where we have a grade A chance or we get some opportunities. We don't score, but then they go down and they get a goal. Then they get another goal. And it changes the whole complex of the game. So that's what Paul's talking about. Sometimes scores get blown out of proportion a little bit. Like, if we capitalize on some of our chances early on in that game, it's a different game, right? But we didn't. That's the way it goes. So Matthew Tkachuk with those comments, I mean, I don't know. I can't answer that question, to be honest with you.
Pierre.
Craig, when you look at the elements that led up to you winning a championship in St. Louis, and you look at what you have here, what is missing here that would bridge the gap to what you experienced in 2019 in St. Louis?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I said, I really like this team. I think this team is a very good team. To get over that hump, like I said, we have to learn from this Game 7 here going forward, and we will learn from it, and we'll be better. But they're different teams, okay? They're different teams. They're constructed differently than this team, but they're both capable of winning. You know, from a talent standpoint and character and toughness, I call it, we have a lot of that here on this team. And we just have to learn to do things a little bit differently in big games and big moments. And that's the difference of getting you over the hump. Now, in saying that, you do need bounces to go your way in a lot of these situations to advance, right? It's tight. It's, you know, I mean, but, you know, you got to earn them too.
Steve.
Craig, you talked the other night about sort of not having a great sense of what happened in Game 5 and Game 7 and why the team didn't come out better than it did. And
a mystery. Jesse loves playing detective.
But the real mystery was your irritated skin. So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. It cleans better and doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
And it's gentle on her skin.
Try Tide Free and Gentle with 100% money-back guarantee. It's got to be Tide.
I've been trying to configure this field for an hour, but this CRM sucks. Maybe it's time to stand up to these slow, archaic CRMs. We deserve a CRM that doesn't take forever to create a report. We need a CRM we won't hate, and that will actually help us work faster. And should we find such a CRM, our work will be known as efficient, faster.
the thing that I found sort of baffling, and I'm interested in your perspective, you come out for Game 7 and you come out slow, obviously, and then you have a great second half of that period where it seems like you're now back sort of taking over the game again, and then you come out for the second and you just get blasted. What didn't happen to start the second period, and do you understand how that happened after you came back in the first?
We came out in the second period, and like I said, the game's going on, and we lost structure for a bit, and they capitalized on them opportunities. That's the bottom line. Like, I mean, I can't word it any differently than that. We lost numbers, gave up a 2-on-1, you know, the other goal, we lost a guy going to the net, rebound goal, like, you know, so the structure, we lost our structure for a bit and cost us 3 goals, and, you know, now you're down 3-0.
Josh.
Craig, when you look at the season as a whole, is there anything you wish you would have done differently, especially with a mind towards the next season?
Repeat that question.
Is there anything you wish you would have done differently, just when you look at the season as a whole?
As a coach or a team?
As a coach.
No, I mean, like I said, we accomplished a lot this year. I think, you know, I'm not sure if there's always things that throughout the season that maybe you could have done a little bit differently as a coach or handled something a little bit differently. But in the end, like I said, we won our division, 108 points, a lot of good things. I think changed our style of play, how we did things. So, yeah, I don't, like, I mean, yeah, I'm like a player almost. Like, yeah, there's things I could do better, and there's things that I could do a little bit differently at certain times. But overall, I think we accomplished a lot.
We'll do 3 more. Anna, Lance, and Terry.
Craig, what was it like coaching Austin this year, and what was your takeaway from his first year as the captain of this team?
Yeah, I thought, you know, it's great coaching him. You know, obviously coaching a guy with that much ability, but the person is, you know, the person is even more important for me. Great character, great personality. Really enjoyed being around him. I thought his leadership got better and better as the year went along. I thought we worked well together, him and I, from that standpoint. And I thought, you know, towards the end of the season, he really took over in that role. And I only, you know, he's only going to grow as a leader now. I think understanding what it takes to be a leader and the things you got to do, not only on the ice, but off the ice. You know, there's a lot that goes into it. And I thought he grew extremely well as a leader.
Lance.
Craig, if you haven't already begun your exit meetings with the players, what are you going to be telling them about this summer and what to take into it and then on to training camp? Obviously?
I think every player is different, and there's certain things that, you know, I'm going to tell the player that I see where he needs to improve and what he can do to improve in those areas to become a better player. You know, for me, the takeaway is like, yeah, it hurts right now. It hurts. So remember that throughout the summer, because it hurts, and it takes a lot to win in this league, and it takes a lot of pain to win in this league, from what we talked about with injuries and how hard you got to play and all that. So for me, you know, a big takeaway is you go home this summer and you become tougher mentally and tougher physically, because you're going to need it for next year.
Terry.
Hey, Craig, both goalies can return next year. I think the D-core is under contract for the next 2 seasons, all of it. You know, we don't know the futures of Mitch and John, but what has to be the priority for Brad in the offseason here to try?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to comment on that. That's for Brad to comment on that stuff. I'm not going to comment about those types of things right now, and I haven't even talked to Brad about it. So it's hard for me to answer that question.
Would you like to see, personally then, would you like to see the team re-sign John and Mitch?
100%.
All right.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.